Alright, it's time for me to give you 5 players to pick up here in week 3 of fantasy football. After the first 2 weeks, it's kind of easy to tell on players that you kind of need to drop or guys you need to add. Injuries are starting to pile up here in the coming weeks. So I'm going to give you 5 players you should pick up this week in fantasy football. First, I stated last week, and he should be definitely picked up now, is quarterback Philip Rivers. He's only owned in 39% of Yahoo Fantasy Football leagues. This guy's a must-to-have. He has put himself into a starter role, actually, in terms of the quarterback position, especially if you have a guy that's kind of struggling right now. He is the perfect fit. You could tell with Mike McCoy's offense that he is going to be throwing the ball a lot, but efficiently. He's thrown for a ton of touchdowns already. He's been one of the best fantasy football quarterbacks out there. I would definitely pick him up, put him on your bench, if not start him, especially your quarterbacks not playing very well. Philip Rivers, you gotta pick him up if he's available in your league. The next is running back James Starks for the Packers, and the reason you pick him up is due to the Eddie Lacy injury. He's the only back really that the Packers have right now. Eddie Lacy has a concussion. Everyone knows how that's affected players in the past. They have new concussion rules in the NFL. James Starks is the perfect pickup for any team, and you can bring him in as a backup right now. Or if, say, you had Eddie Lacy and you were starting him, you put in James Starks and you'll be fine. He had a great fantasy week last week, and expect him to do the same just because Packers are going to have a lot of leads. They score a lot of points. It means they run the ball a lot. So I'd pick up James Starks in a heartbeat. He's only owned in 11% of Yahoo leagues. Next, I'm going to go with another running back, and it's Bernard Pierce. He's owned in 46% of leagues. And with the Ray Rice injury, which could be serious, I know he's a hip injury, he needs to be picked up as well, especially if you have Ray Rice and for some reason you don't have Pierce. You have to pick him up now. He's an easy start. He did have a lot of carries last week. He'll have a lot of carries for weeks to come. Baltimore struggles to get the ball down the field, but they do run the ball a lot. Pierce is a running and passing threat. I would pick up Bernard Pierce in a heartbeat. Guys, pick this guy up. Next, I'm going to go to the wide receiver position, and this week, Eddie Royal. For some reason, he's only owned in 21% of leagues. I know everyone was kind of skeptical, a fluke first week. I've always said once as a rookie, twice as a pro. He's had 2 very good weeks. It's shown that he's involved in that San Diego offense. Philip Rivers is getting him the ball. There was an injury that everyone saw, the drastic injury to Malcolm Floyd. That means more touches for Eddie Royal in the open field. He's using that bubble screen game around the goal line. He's already has 5 touchdowns. He's one of the best wide receivers in fantasy football right now. I'm not saying pick him up and start him, but definitely put him on your bench. He's got to be better than what you have as a 4th or 5th wide receiver. Maybe as a flex you could start him. Eddie Royal, I would pick him up in a heartbeat. Like I said, he's barely owned in any of the Yahoo leagues. Get on him right away. Next, the last person I'm going to talk about is another wide receiver, is Robert Woods, and he's only owned in 8% of Yahoo leagues. And the reason why I would pick him up is he did have a good couple weeks. He's had 2 consistent weeks. I think he had like 7 to 9 points, something like that. Now it's not PPR, so he obviously had more in PPR league. And the reason why I would pick him up is he's young, he's out of USC, and he's kind of an up-and-comer. But the biggest thing is EJ Manuel has shown that he could get the ball down the field. And obviously Stevie Johnson is their number 1 wide receiver. But as their number 2 wide receiver, Robert Woods is that guy. And usually, if you think of fantasy football, you always want to have guys that are number 1 wide receivers. Usually, no matter what, you always have number 1. You draft, then you pick up a guy who's a number 2 wide receiver on a team if there's a quarterback that can move the ball down the field. Now, before the season, everyone's skeptical, will Buffalo just be the same old Buffalo that can't move the ball through the air? EJ Manuel's proved that he can throw the ball, and they're going to throw a lot. Their new coach Marrone likes to put the ball in the air, so it's clear they're going to go a lot through the air. Robert Woods would be a decent pickup. Put him in a backup. Put him on your bench. I think he's going to get better throughout the season. He could maybe start a week for you. If a guy, is on his bye week or gets injured, he could be a fill-in starter. I'd pick up Robert Woods just because of that. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys check out my other sports videos going on with fantasy football and the real NFL.
Anything goes, anything goes. never know what we're gonna show on Anything Goes.